Good afternoon, students. Last time we have covered with the protochordates. Today we will go with the vertebrates. These animals do have vertebral column, true vertebral column. See, there is difference between vertebral column and spinal cord. Spinal cord is the nervous tissue which is covered by the vertebral column. Vertebral column means the vertebrae, or you can say bones, which are covering the spinal cord. It forms the internal skeleton, right? Internal skeleton means the endoskeleton. Our human body do have the bone framework which is covered with the muscles and everything, but first the framework is of the bones, allowing a completely different distribution. Because of these bones, it is very easy for the muscles to get attached at the different parts of the body, and which helps in the better movement of the body. The organism which are vertebrates are bilateral, so the bilateral symmetry means the right and left half are same. They are triploblastic. There is 3 germinal layers as I told you earlier. Then the coelomic. They have the body cavity in which organs are arranged. They are segmented as well. They do have segments in their body with a complex differentiation of body tissues. Differentiation means once the cell is divided into the furthermore number of cells. Now this number of cells will get differentiated, means they will modify themselves in the way they have to function in the body. If we talk about the small intestine, they do have the microvilli present in it. This microvilli is the modification feature which helps the small intestine to increase the surface area for the absorption of the food. But if we talk about stomach, the stomachs do have the mucus layer inside them, which helps the stomach to protect itself from the hydrochloric acid. This is the differentiation of the body tissues. All chordates possess the following features. Have the notochord. These vertebrate organisms do have the notochord. What is notochord? Notochord is something which is present in the vertebrate organism to protect themselves. They have the dorsal nerve cord. See, there is difference between notochord and the nerve cord. Nerve cord is something which you can say as a spinal cord, and notochord is the bony structure or cartilaginous structure, whereas dorsal nerve cord is the nervous tissue. These are triploblastic, have a paired gill pouch. What do you mean by gill pouches? Fishes have the gill and gill pouches through which they do the respiration. They are coelomate. They have the true body cavities. Vertebrates are grouped into 6 different classes. Now we can say that vertebrate organisms are also divided into 6 different classes. Today we will learn the 3 different classes of the vertebrates. First of all is the cyclostomata. Cyclostomes are the jawless vertebrates. What do you mean by jawless? We do have 2 jaws, maxilla and the mandible. These organisms do not have jaw. They are jawless. They are characterized by having an elongated eel-like body. Elongated means long, eel-like means a fish-like body. They do have the circular mouth. See, the figure has given the circular mouth. Slimy skin. What do you mean by slimy skin? Slimy skin means they do have the skin which is slippery. If you will touch this organism, they will slip from your hand, and are scaleless. What is scaleless? Fish do have scales, but these organisms have the flat surfaces which do not have the scales. They are ectoparasite. Ectoparasite means they live on the another organism, depend on another organism for their food. From the outside, they don't enter the body of the host. They are taking their food from the outside of the host, but they are harmful to the host. They are borers of other vertebrates. Borers means they depend on some another organism for their food, means they are fish-like organism. Petromyzon, lamprey and myxine, the hagfish are the example. There are few example given for the cyclostomes. Next is Pisces. These are fish. Pisces is one of the zodiac sign as well. If you know, there is one zodiac sign which is Pisces. These are fishes. They are fish. They are exclusively aquatic. Aquatic means either freshwater or marine. Their skin is covered with scales or plates. You know the body of fish, there are different, there is scale, that means a particular pattern is there on the body of the fish. They obtain oxygen dissolved in water by using gills. They can't take the atmospheric oxygen. If you will take out the aquatic animal or fish on the land, they will die because they can't absorb the atmospheric oxygen. They need the oxygen in the dissolved form, that means in a water. So they will take the water inside first of all from their gills. They will absorb the oxygen from there, and then again they will remove the water from their gills. The body is streamlined and a muscular tail is used for the movement. Body is like a streamline and muscular. There is tail for the swimming. They are cold-blooded. What is cold-blooded? They can change their body temperature according to the atmosphere. Their heart have only 2 chambers. Like humans, they do not have 4-chambered heart. They have only 2-chambered heart. They lay eggs, but humans are oviparous. These organisms are viviparous. We can think of many kinds of fish, some with the skeletons made entirely of the cartilage. Many a times you people, those who are non-vegetarians, might be knowing that fish do have the cartilage, or you used to tell that there are spines in or thorns in the food that are cartilage, such as shark, and some with the skeleton made up of both bones and cartilage, such are tuna or rohu. There are names of the fish. Next topic is amphibia. What do you mean by amphibians? This is very common word being used since our childhood. These animals differ from the fish in the lack of scales. There is absence of scales or plates on the amphibian animals. In having mucus gland, they do not have the mucus gland. They are 3-chambered heart. These organisms do have 3-chambered heart. As we have talked in the fish that they do have 2-chambered heart, these organisms have 3-chambered heart. Respiration is through either gills or lungs. Depends on the organism, that either it may be through the gills or through the lungs. These organisms also lay eggs. These animals are found both in water and on the land. These organisms can live on both the area, either on water or on the lands. Frogs, toads, salamanders are some examples of the amphibians. Frogs, toads and salamanders. See, examples are drawn in your book. Fourth one is reptiles. This you might be knowing. What are reptiles? These animals are cold-blooded. These organisms can change their body temperature according to the atmosphere, have scales and breathe through the lungs. See, as we are going to the upper level, the organization or the body organization of organ systems are being developed as we are going up, right? Breathe through the lungs. They do have lungs for the breathing, means respiration is through the lungs. While most of them have 3-chambered heart. Most of the organisms do have the 3-chambered heart. Crocodile have the 4-chambered heart. Like humans, crocodiles do have the 4-chambered heart. They lay eggs with tough covering. These organisms also lays egg, but the covering of the egg is tough. They lay egg with tough covering and do not need to lay their eggs in water, unlike amphibians. There is no need of these organisms to lay their eggs in the water. They can lay outside on the land as well. Snakes, turtles, lizards, crocodiles fall in this category. If we talk about reptiles, they used to walk on their stomach. They are crawling. They don't walk. Actually, they used to crawl. That's why they are known as reptiles. The next topic is aves. Aves means birds. These are warm-blooded animals and have a 4-chambered heart. They lay eggs. There is an outer covering of feathers. Means the feathers. You know what is feathers? Yes, they do have the feathers. Feathers means the wings. Wings तो नहीं बोल सकते. पंख बोल सकते आप. 2 forelimbs are modified for the flight. मॉडिफाइड 4 limb. 4 limb मीन्स अपर हैंड. जो हमारे हाथ होते हैं वो फोर लिम्ब बोलते हैं. दे आर मॉडिफाइड एज अ विंग्स टू फ्लाई. दे ब्रीथ थ्रू लंग्स. उनको भी लंग्स होते हैं फॉर ब्रीदिंग. ऑल बर्ड्स फॉल इन दिस कैटेगरी. सारे बर्ड्स इस कैटेगरी में आते हैं. अब नाउ लास्ट वन इज द मैमल्स. Mammals are warm-blooded animals. What do you mean by warm-blooded? They can't change their body temperature on the basis of the outer atmosphere. That means they are warm-blooded animals with four-chambered heart. They have the mammary glands for the production of milk to nourish their young. Mammary glands are present. जो छोटे बच्चे हैं उनको उनकी माँ दूध पिलाती है. दैट आर द मेमोरी ग्लैंड्स फॉर द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ मिल्क. ये क्वालिटी खाली मैमल्स में होती है, बाकी किसी में नहीं होती. ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ मेमोरी ग्लैंड्स दे हैव डिवाइडेड द वर्टिब्रेट्स इनटू अनदर कैटेगरी दैट इज नोन एज मैमल्स. देयर स्किन हैज हेयर्स as well as sweat and oil glands. We do have hairs on our skin, we do have the sweat glands, we do have the oil glands, right? Most mammals familiar to produce their live young ones. वो सीधा बेबी को जन्म देते हैं. दे आर ओविपेरस. दे आर viviparous. They give birth to the babies, right? They don't lay eggs. However, a few of them like the platypus and echidna lay eggs, and some like kangaroos give birth to very poorly developed young ones. Some examples are shown in the figure 7.26. Now, another thing is the nomenclature. Why is there a need for systemic naming of the living organism? Why there is a need to give the names to the different organism? As you might be able to appreciate, it would be difficult for people speaking or writing in different languages to know when they are talking about the same organism. See, if I would be here in Gujarat, I will be speaking Gujarati. If I would be there in Maharashtra, I will be speaking Marathi. If people would be there in south side, they either may be speaking Tamil, Kannada or anything, right? So as we go in different places, people would be speaking different languages. How people, if someone travels to another place, how they would be able to know. But if I will go to Germany, they would be speaking German. If I will go to foreign countries, they might be speaking French or something. So everywhere the name of the organism will differ according to the language. So there is a need to give a specific scientific name to each and every organism. Each organism is given their own scientific names for the person to know about which organism we are talking about. For this, there is a nomenclature, that is binomial nomenclature is being designed, in which the first name is about the genus and second one is the specific epithet, means the species name. See, I don't know this book. This will come in detail in 11th standard, but see, right now we are just having the intro of this topic. This problem was resolved by agreeing upon a scientific name for organism in the same manner that chemical symbols and formula for various substances are used the world over. The scientific name for an organism is thus unique and can be used to identify it anywhere in the world. The system of scientific naming or nomenclature we use today was introduced by the Carolus Linnaeus in the 18th century. In the scientific name of the organism, the result of the process of classification which put it along with the organism it is most related to. But when we actually name the species, we do not list out the whole hierarchy of group it belongs to. Instead, we limit ourselves to writing the name of the genus and species of that particular organism. World over, it has been agreed that both the names will be written in the Latin form. Every time when you write the name in a binomial nomenclature, binomial means in two way. First one is genus and second one is species. The two words are written. That's why it is known as binomial nomenclature. It was given by Carolus Linnaeus, and whenever you write this, it should be written in a Latin form. Certain conventions are followed while writing the scientific name. The name of the genus begin with the capital letter. Whenever you write the name of the genus, it should be written in a capital letter. The species should be written in the small letter. When printed the scientific name, it should be in italics. When written by hand, the genus name and the species name have to be underlined separately. Whenever you will write this in your paper, the both the names should be underlined separately, because they both are different. They both are different. They do have their own personalities, right? So if you will, what do you mean by species? Species is a very common characteristic of too many organisms who are placed in one group is known as species. But what is genus? If there is some of the dissimilarities, even though either they are having one or two similarity in them, they are placed in one group, that is known as genus. This you will learn in detail in standard 11. The first chapter is all about this topic. Okay, chalo. Today we have completed the chapter number 7. Kids, if you have any doubts, then you can message me in personal, as well as if any of the doubts for before chapters also, you can message me and write this topic for one time in your notebooks. Thank you.